The Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, arrives at the Code of Conduct Tribunal with distinguished senators and support. It's been nearly 2 years since his trial on false declaration of assets commenced way back in September 2015. Then on a 13-count charge, increased to a 16-count charge in April 2016, and finally an 18-count charge in February 2017. The Honourable Chairman of the two-man panel, Mr. Danladi Umar, commences his highly anticipated ruling to the defence's no-case submission filed on the 26th of May by stating that the prosecution had not made out a case against the defendant. He continues that the investigation on the defendant had been an intelligence-gathering exercise and that the 4 prosecution witnesses were manifestly unreliable. He concludes that no reasonable tribunal could safely convict on the evidence produced, that the prosecution did not prove the essential elements of the offence, and that the tribunal had to discharge the defendant. The second panel member, Honourable William Ateze, agrees and states that the formulation of the 18-count charge was predicated on the testimony of the third prosecution witness, Mr. Samuel Madujemu of the CCB, who testified that details of the outcome of the investigation were based on information given to him by the team, that is, the EFCC, DSS and CCB. However, the term team had no constitutional or statutory backing. He highlights that this was a fatal flaw of the prosecution, as his evidence rendered all evidence of the prosecution invalid. Indeed, it was an affliction that bedeviled the prosecution's case. Mr. Ateze ruled that the other fatal flaws included hearsay evidence by prosecution witnesses, the failure to take a statement from the defendant, and the failure to link the defendant with the commission of the offence and the counts as charged. He further ruled that the prosecution failed to call crucial witnesses that would link the defendant to the offence, and concluded that the defendant has no case whatsoever to answer and is discharged and acquitted. Counsel for both sides thanked the tribunal, but the lead prosecution lawyer, Rotimi Jacobs, SAN, had been noticeably absent. The Senate President left the court amidst jubilant supporters, and his defence counsel comment.
You recall that I had always, in addressing you, told you that the prosecution had no case, that the case had collapsed, and that every time we destroyed the case, they amended to try to patch it up. I had always told you this, and it gives me no particular pleasure to say I told you so, but that's how it is. I told you so.
But prosecuting counsel had this reaction.
We have already started making arrangements to get a copy of the ruling. As soon as it's out, then we'll study it and then we know what next to do.
So, the dramatic acquittal of Dr. Bukola Saraki by the CCT ends the controversial trial of the Senate President. But is this case really over? Or will there be an appeal? Yemisi Paya, Channels Television News.